July 1st of this year, I got a job promotion. Quite literally overnight, I transitioned from a first-year intern to a second-year resident. I earned the title upper level. This meant I was officially a resident. Although looking back, I now appreciate being just an intern. As I deal with the increased expectations from attendings and even interns and medical students in my new role as an upper level, I can't help but reflect on the good and bad of intern year. In this video, I will highlight a few of the things that I learned from intern year that I wish I had done or realized earlier. Intern year sucked. This is usually what most people who have been through it will say. I agree, but I also feel like it would have sucked a little less if I didn't listen to as many of those people. Don't get me wrong, I think the workload often made it difficult to want to get up every day. Choosing a dual specialty residency made the workload even harder for me. My reflections on intern year make me glad it is over, but the hardship hasn't ended as I've transitioned into second year. I just have a different outlook. As I was preparing this video, I had just driven back from a weekend trip to see my in-laws. It was Sunday night, and that Monday, I was starting a 2-week block of inpatient wards. The next day, I knew I had to get up at 5 a.m. to be at work by 6:30. Because I was on call, I wouldn't be leaving until 7:15 p.m. at the earliest, and possibly a few hours later than that depending on how many admissions I had gotten. Having 10.5 to 13-hour-long work days for weeks on end was not what I dreamt of as I was writing my personal statement for residency. But hey, at least ACGME ensures you have 1 day off per week. I had a really rough intern year. Just to give you a sneak peek into how rough it was, I am now on a few extra prescription medicines. It took me a while to accept that I just needed some help. This was hard because I actually completed an intern year before, in my home country, which was actually way more grueling in terms of scut work and hours. I don't know exactly why this year broke me like it did. Maybe it was the lack of social support, being away from my family, or maybe it was my own expectations of myself that weighed me down. I have been sharing things that I've learned from my intern year with the PGY1s that I come across, and I would like to share some of those things with you. The first thing I learned that I'd like to share with you guys is I wish I didn't study at all during the first 6 months of intern year. Around the time I was finishing up my onboarding and attending orientation related events, I started to think about how I was going to study once intern year started. I wanted to sound smart on rounds. I wanted to make up for deficiencies I thought I would have, not having the typical path to residency as many of my peers. I eventually made a detailed plan on OneNote. I set out to study most evenings after work, working on a topic list, which included reading from Amboss, Medscape, and textbooks. I also planned to spend a few hours on each off day at the library or Starbucks, answering 40 to 80 questions, and doing some more reading. Was I successful in keeping this up? No. Would some people have been successful in keeping this up? Yes. Looking back, do I wish I had kept trying to keep this up? Absolutely not. The first half of intern year is very challenging for a number of reasons. You're getting used to the EMR. You're getting used to the hospital systems, which are intricate and can be difficult for even upper levels to navigate, you are adjusting to the added real responsibility of patient care. There is an even steeper learning curve if you did not go to school at that institution, or if you're an IMG. Getting lost in the maze of the hospital and having issues with the EMR on the first day of a rotation adds to the stress of an already long day. I think there is enough time at work to learn in the first 6 months of residency. You do not need to study. This only really sunk in a few months into intern year, after I had already spent many sleep-deprived days stressing about studying. The caveat to this, however, is if you are planning to take Step 3 or COMLEX 3 early in residency. Some programs require this. I often had to remind myself that my peers who say they are studying may not be studying as much as I thought. Being a good intern is the goal. This is less about knowing the intricate pathophysiology of cardiorenal syndrome. Instead, it is knowing your patient well enough so that they reveal their symptoms, which gives you a thorough history. It is being open to learning on rounds from others, even the medical students. It is knowing how to find the consult number to the relevant service and not being afraid to make that call. I wish I focused on this more during intern year instead of trying to study. Here's my advice to the intern. Pay attention to your surroundings at work. Ask lots of questions about how the hospital works and about how your upper levels get their jobs done. Attend all of the in-hospital didactic sessions that you can. This is how you study in the first 6 months. After the first 6 months, feel free to slowly incorporate the studying methods that work for you. The second thing that I wish I had done earlier in intern year is setting boundaries between my work life and my home life. Mark Black said, "Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is relax." I often found it hard on evenings after work to relax. I brought the stress of the day's work home with me like a dark cloud. I would talk to my husband about the hospital all evening. I would ruminate on all the things I thought I had done wrong that day. On some rotations, I would spend my evenings and nights at home, finishing notes to make sure they were perfect. Work felt like a prison that I couldn't escape. It is hard to separate work from home as a doctor. Patients' lives are at stake. I now believe that my career depends on me doing this hard task of creating a divide. One of the biggest culprits of burnout is feeling like you can't escape a stressful work environment. Residency can be very stressful, and spending 24/7 in that state is dangerous to our well-being. I had serious struggles with my mental health after finishing a month in the MICU. My off days were stressful because I spent the entire day looking at the clock, dreading the end of this day and the start of the next call, the next string of nights. It felt like there was no break in the cortisol surge. I would get up in the morning at 4 a.m. to chart prep for a couple of hours and then still end up writing notes in the evening at home. I was told that I wrote great notes, but it was at the expense of my mental health. This may not be everyone's story, but it's mine. I have high functioning anxiety. I wish I had made rules for myself which set clear separations between my work and personal life, allowing me to be 100% present in each area while I was there. I now have implemented a few rules that I will share with you. I do not study or do any residency-related admin tasks at home or on my days off. I try to do these things when I'm physically at work. I like to take my laptop to work so that during my lunch break or during a call shift, I can check emails, send refills, respond to patients, complete that HIPAA training course, or do questions. Whatever I don't get done can wait until the next day when I'm at work. This requires consistency, and I'm still working on establishing the routine so that things don't pile up. It makes my work days feel a little busier, but I prefer that. It means when I come home, it's easier for me to focus on my home life. I often tell myself when I'm not physically in the hospital, I'm not a doctor. I'm a stay-at-home, farmer's market addicted dog mom. At least that's what I would be if I wasn't a resident. This may sound silly, but when medicine takes so much out of you, for a lot of us our entire 20s, it's nice to temporarily leave that identity at the door with your hospital badge. Be intentional about learning efficient ways to get notes finished on time. If it is busy and you are catching up on notes late in the day, to avoid taking them home, take a short break and find a nicer spot in the hospital to finish them, maybe by a window with a great view. Being able to unwind on evenings is critical to recharging for the next day. Lastly, I wish I had not neglected to take care of myself. I tend to be a people pleaser, and I care about what people think about me way more than I should. This makes me amicable and keeps me open to people that I meet. However, it also means that I tend to overcommit and think about others' desires before I think about my own. During intern year, I was often tempted to stay later than I needed to, in order to please others. Or I neglected taking a lunch break because I didn't want to look lazy. Once I heard someone say, "There is no prize for being overworked," and I agree. I think the culture in medicine is the opposite. Sometimes it feels like there is a competition to be the most overworked and tired resident. A resident who takes care of themselves is a better colleague, a better doctor, and a better employee. Self-care has many different aspects. While we take care of the physical health of many others, it is often easy to forget about our own physical health. We then fail to be the best examples to our patients. Of course, everyone knows that you should exercise, eat healthy, and get good sleep, especially during residency. Practically though, this is hard, given the work hours. To overcome this, I had to reconsider my priorities and find additional resources. One of the ways I achieved better physical well-being toward the end of my intern year was exercising immediately after a shift, such that it became a priority amongst my other after-work activities. I often go straight to the gym in my scrubs. I signed up for grocery delivery services so that I never have to shop in person unless I want to. I usually go for pre-prepared meals like salad kits and pre-seasoned meats to shorten cooking time. and to limit my temptation to get fast food. I often remind myself that at work, there is always time to use the restroom and take a 5-minute break to go outside and sit in the sun. I also learned to make my off days really count. I look up local events to explore the city, discover new bakeries, restaurants, and museums, connect with friends who aren't in medicine. Taking an afternoon nap on my off days feels glorious. I am a Christian, so my spiritual well-being is also important. I work most Sundays, and therefore it is harder for me to feel connected to my church family. But I am working on prioritizing church attendance when I can attend, and keeping in touch with friends from church when I can't. Lastly, take a sick day if you are sick. I had to have surgery during my intern year, and felt bad when I had to take leave to recover. I worried about coverage and about being a burden. I wish I didn't feel that way. We as residents are human and do not need to apologize for doing human things. My program director was so helpful in making sure I had time to recover, so it was really me that was being overly hard on myself. Residency is hard and requires a lot out of you, as you learn the skills necessary to practice independently. My advice is to not neglect taking care of yourself for the sake of this job that is residency. I hope this video was thought-provoking and possibly inspiring if you're an intern. Please share your thoughts or experiences navigating through intern year. I would love to hear your thoughts, even if you finished residency many years ago. Until next time.